What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to Out of the Basement. We're continuing our Game of Thrones spoiler recap and review discussion. Today we are talking about Season 8, Episode 5, The Bells. Yay.
The Bells.
The Bells. I'm Nate. I'm joined with Justin.
What's up, guys?
And Steven.
Howdy.
And today is Connor's birthday, so wish him a happy birthday in the comments down below. So I guess let's just jump right into it. Of course, like I said, spoiler review, so if you haven't seen the episode, go watch it and then come back and watch this video. Or if you don't give a shit, just watch this video anyway, because this episode kind of sucked in my opinion. And by kind of sucked, I mean really sucked. I don't know, what do you guys think?
I think Jarek and I are pretty much in the same boat. I loved it and I hated it.
Bunch of fence riders.
It's not even fence riding, because there are parts that I absolutely hate, but there are parts that I absolutely love, and I'm just a little bit torn with this episode. Overall, though, I wouldn't say I hate it. There is one specific thing that I would say I hate, and hate is a strong word, and I would use that word to describe how two characters' arcs were wrapped up in a horrible way and unsatisfying.
There is some straight up unforgivable stuff that happens.
I think, and we'll get into it more if we're going to talk, when we do talk spoilers, if we had 10 episodes for seasons 7 and 8, we could have had a little more development and foreshadowing, which there was foreshadowing, but we needed more development for a certain character's motive or sudden character change.
Yeah.
That in this episode seemed kind of jarring and out of character.
A classic Nate statement, out of character. I will say, though, too, I predicted something in the last episode, didn't come true. But we'll talk about that. What I want to say to the credit of this episode is that the cinematography was pretty awesome throughout the entire episode.
I think it's a pretty visually good thing to look at. I think it was directed well. You said it was the same director as the...
Yeah,
Episode 3?
Yeah, episode 3. Same director. So... obviously, it's during the daytime now, though, so you can see stuff.
Yeah.
Am I right, everyone?
I think he does handle big sets like that really well, and all of the soldiers and everything. I think all of that was handled well, and like you said, visually good to look at. It's just the direction of the story is where we had our beef.
Yes. And same thing, with the music. And the acting pretty much across the board was also really great for the episode.
Yeah, the music has also been great all season, I think.
Yeah, it's just that the writing of the characters is what's really fundamentally wrong with Game of Thrones Season 8. And this episode had some really great gore, right, Steven?
Yes.
Yeah.
I enjoyed the gore a lot. It may be some of the goriest moments in the whole series.
Yeah, I would say so. You get heads cut off, hands cut off, people borderline cut in half.
Yeah. You get to see a few Lannister soldiers get like bludgeoned in the face.
Yeah,
lots of blood,
yeah.
and most of the blood looked good.
Obviously,
a lot of it was probably CG, but I thought the gore was good.
Yeah,
very good.
So let's just jump into the recap. The episode starts out with Varys betraying Dany, which was alluded to in the previous episode. They had a conversation, him and Tyrion did, and Tyrion essentially rats on Varys, which is... I don't know if I like that, because Varys is directly responsible for saving Tyrion's life, and for him to just betray him like that kind of felt a little weird to me.
Yeah.
And as a result of that, Varys is killed. Like Dany said she was going to kill him. He's burned to death by Drogon. Which he doesn't scream or anything, even though,
I think it's when you get a direct Dracarys from one of the dragons, it instantly turns you to ash. That happens in, Season 7 with the... see that in some of the Lannister soldiers are instantly turned to ash.
But I feel like later in the episode, there's definitely people that are getting hit directly with the flames that are screaming.
Yeah.
In the Battle for King's Landing. So then, pretty much after that, Tyrion has a nice farewell final scene. Jaime is captured by Dany's army. which, of course, just so they can have a little final moment together.
Yeah, it served no other purpose because Tyrion was able to just waltz in there, free him, and like he literally only got captured so they could have that moment. It's just kind of cheap to me.
Yeah.
Everything that they did with Jaime this episode, that is my number one thing that I hated.
But real quick before we move forward, I just want to say, I'm going to borrow a line from you. I don't think it's in Tyrion's character to snitch like that.
Mm-hmm.
I just felt like he acted like a little toddler tattletale. I just don't feel like...
But I mean, when you're the hand of the queen,
Yeah.
you're ultimately loyal to who you're serving.
Yeah, that's very true. But even Tyrion had his doubts. He was even like...
But then literally this scene, he betrays Dany because he sets Jaime free. So, like, he betrays Dany anyway. That's the problem with this. The big problem with this episode is that so many characters are ruined and do so many things out of character. Tyrion being the first one.
Why wouldn't she kill Tyrion, too?
I mean, maybe she will kill him in the next episode.
Because she says, Jon betrayed me and you betrayed me by telling Varys.
Yeah. So why is Varys the number one?
I was kind of thinking that, too, like...
I mean, there's still another episode, though. He could still potentially get killed by Dany.
True.
But, yeah, that scene of him, being so against, like, oh, Varys betrayed her. And then he does the same exact thing. Like, what the fuck, man? This show makes no sense anymore. All the character development for all of these characters completely thrown out the window, pun intended, for Jaime. Like, they're just, nope. It's all gone. It's all big boom boom fan service.
Varys also was the one character that I had pegged to survive the entire series because he's so crafty. And just good
but
with
at
it.
the same time, Varys is a fence rider who has betrayed like every person that he's served.
That is
like
true.
Robert, Cersei.
I used
Dany.
to think he was a straight up villain sometimes, but I truly think he is. He tries to do what's best for the realm.
Yeah.
And obviously, it's some wishy-washiness and some stuff going on. But obviously, knowing what us, the viewers, know, I'm on Varys' team. Of course. But, I was kind of sad to see him go. Because I do think he had what was best for the people in mind.
Yeah.
And he was clearly proven right at the end of this episode.
Yeah.
So moving on, we get to the Battle of King's Landing. Everyone's getting set up and in place. And
the battle is evened.
Yes.
It's a very even...
literally the words out of Jaime's mouth are, maybe they evened the battle.
They've evened the odds.
Yeah, they've evened the odds. And then, of course, Drogon comes in. Dany comes in on Drogon. Suddenly, the Scorpions, completely ineffective. Euron's aim, the Iron Fleet's aim, completely trashed now.
Well, Euron didn't even get on the thing.
Well, I mean, I'm just talking about in general. Euron and the Iron Fleet. Because obviously in episode 4, they 360 no-scoped Rhaegal, hitting a flying target 3 consecutive shots. And then in this episode, every single person on a Scorpion is just like, I can't hit anything. I can't do it.
I think what they were going for is... Because, I'm the master of offering stupid explanations of, like, this
Devil's
is probably
advocate.
what... Yeah. Devil's advocate. I think what they were going for is that Dany was on the offensive, and it would be harder to hit something that is currently on the offensive, I mean, those things are
still
huge.
Bullshit.
Those
It's still
things
bullshit.
Are huge. The Scorpions are obviously huge, take a long time to move, so you could just go behind them and destroy the fleet. I think they're kind of impractical anyway, but...
No, I mean,
I agree.
What are you going to do against a dragon in
Clearly
medieval
nothing.
times?
Clearly, absolutely nothing.
Yeah, because the Iron Fleet's instantly destroyed. All of the Scorpion turrets are instantly destroyed.
The Golden Company, gone.
Instantly destroyed. They set up the Golden Company like, oh, here's like a new little bit of a villain entered in the late game. Nope, they're all dead.
And they,
one hit.
They killed the other dragons for dramatic effect just so they could say the battlefield is now even.
Yeah.
And everything is so even. Oh, who's going to win the battle? Who's going to win the battle?
Yeah.
No fucking contest.
And the Golden Company just runs away.
Yeah.
Which their cell swords, I could totally see that.
Sure.
Same thing happened with Stannis.
Mm-hmm.
So they're kind of easily defeated. The Dothraki are kind of just back.
They respawned.
Mm-hmm.
Which this all goes back to what I was saying about the numbers. Like at the Battle of Winterfell, it didn't look like the 100,000 Dothraki. It didn't look like the 20,000 Golden Company either.
Yeah.
It looked like a few hundred. But like where?
Well, this episode completely rendered the Battle of Winterfell to be completely
there was
inconsequential.
There was no consequences because it literally looked like the extinction of the Dothraki and most of the Unsullied, because you see, a couple of them running back in.
The Dothraki.
It looked like
The
the extinction
Dothraki.
of everyone.
Right. And then in episode 4, they're like, oh, half survived. Where were those half at? Where were they at? They were nowhere to be found in episode 3. And then now it just seemed like they were just back to full force. It's like back to infinite number of soldiers because we got to have an epic battle that's even. Yeah. So moving on from that, the battle is clearly being won by Jon, Dany, Grey Worm.
Something I have always wanted to see in Game of Thrones is the Northern Banners, the Stark soldiers in action against Lannister soldiers, because they skip over the Battle of Whispering Wood. By the way, I don't care that they skipped over those battles, but it's something I've always wanted to see, is the Stark soldiers in action against the Lannister soldiers. It was just a bit of like, I've always wanted to see this from the War of the Five Kings and stuff like that. So
it's good Game of Thrones porn.
Oh, absolutely. I think the battle sequences were just entertaining to look at.
Yeah.
And
they go boom.
They go boom and sword clang and blood.
Yeah. And body parts.
But I did like that, and I love the sequence of when the Lannister soldiers throw down their swords, and then you have, obviously Daenerys just goes insane, but like that sequence of Jon where like the sound is drowned out and you just hear his heavy breathing, and you're kind of seeing him because he's kind of been in denial of him wanting the throne. And like I think that's when he started to realize like, I'm like, this is wrong, this is morally wrong, and I'm gonna have to step up and probably obviously I think all of our predictions is he'll kill Daenerys.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty safe bet. But let's back that up a little bit, because I want to talk about them surrendering and then Dany out of nowhere, because there's a lot of division amongst the Game of Thrones fans about Dany's transition into the Mad Queen, which was definitely foreshadowed. We saw a lot of foreshadowing and a lot of obviously her family history, her father being the Mad King.
Yeah.
But the thing that doesn't make sense, that I think a lot of people are choosing to ignore, is that Dany herself has always been a protector of the innocent.
Yeah.
The
breaker of chains.
Yeah, the innocent, the people who can't stand up for themselves, and then just for no particular reason at all decides that all of the men, women, and children that are innocent in King's Landing deserve to be burned to a fucking crisp.
Along with the Lannister soldiers who threw down their swords and surrendered.
Yeah, but I can understand the Lannister, her wanting to just kill the Lannisters, because they're obviously the big bad. But the innocent people just make no sense at all.
But even Jon was going like, no, stop.
Yeah. Because they surrendered. But, it
was the honorable thing to do.
But I could also understand the northern armies being still salty.
Yeah.
Over the War of the Five Kings.
Yeah.
And we were talking about this earlier. I think, and by the way, this is not, we're mad at the fact that they are going the Mad Queen route.
Yeah, that's totally fine.
Some people are spinning this and saying, you're just mad because she's evil now and you just want everything to have a happy ending. That is not what anyone is saying. We're saying there wasn't enough development of that Mad Queen arc to make it believable that she would just go insane.
Yeah.
Because it would have been poetic, and I think this episode would have been really, really good if Season 7 was written better and had 10 episodes, and then Season 8 was written better and had 10 episodes, because we would have had more time for the Mad Queen. Because Daenerys has done some like really immoral and questionable things, because Tyrion is always saying, like, why don't we take them as prisoners? And I mean, even the most...
She's always embraced her dark side in certain instances, but it's always been against people that have wronged her or people that are on the opposing side.
When she crucified the
slave masters.
The slave masters, which they are slave masters, but still crucifying people is like a rather cruel thing. And then like the Karth guy got locked in the
Zaro, whatever his name is.
And then like the season 7,
but again betrayed her.
Yeah, the season 7 like Lannister battle, she refused to take prisoners.
But she also gave them a choice to either bend the knee or die, and they chose to die. So that's
those two characters. Yeah, like the rest bent.
Lord Tarly and Dickon is what we're talking about. But like all of those instances are things that happened because either like the Rickon or Dickon and Lord Tarly, they chose to die, or it was people that betrayed her or wronged her in some way. It was never innocent people. She wasn't burning the slaves in Marine or the innocent people in Marine. She let them live.
Right. That's why I think, there is a difference between foreshadowing and simply adding those elements into her arc that we see the development of the downfall of her of her morality, and then we would believe that she would just go insane. Because if like I just said, if they did have that time, why did they only choose 6 episodes and then X amount of episodes for season 7? Just do the 10 and flesh things out a little more.
Right. I think David Benioff and D.B. Weiss should have walked away from the show at some point, because it's very obvious that HBO...
And it didn't help that the books aren't out yet.
Yeah.
The 2 books that still need to come out.
HBO, as a company, was very open to them wanting more Game of Thrones. I believe they said they at least wanted 10 seasons, if I recall reading that article correctly. But for whatever reason, D.B. Weiss and David Benioff did not want to leave the project or give it to someone else. Like, if they couldn't come up with anything, why not just give it to someone who had an idea? Mm-hmm. Like, why were they so adamant about, like, no, this is what we want, this is how it's going to go?
Well, probably because they ran out of source material and just wanted to wrap things up. Obviously, that's not what they should have done.
Right.
If they didn't feel like they could do it, they could have gave it to someone else.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Because clearly, almost every single idea or moment in season 8 is rushed and poorly written and makes no sense in the context of the entire show.
They, like you said earlier, Buck, they should have done a whole season for the King's Landing stuff and a whole season for the Night King stuff, the White Walker lore.
Yeah,
because that was rushed, and now this is rushed because there's only 6 episodes.
And that way you could see Jon and Dany's romance bloom.
Yeah,
because it's kind of just like, okay, there you go.
They have zero on-screen chemistry at all, and we're just supposed to accept that, they love each other. Like when Jon, especially in this episode, Jon, him and Dany are having that conversation earlier in the episode, and he goes, "Well, I love you." Like, I was like, this is just an actor saying a line. Like, I feel no, like, connection between them.
And I ship them. I ship both of them.
Like,
I just feel like it's just like, okay, at the end of season 7, it's like, okay.
They just met each other, essentially.
And this is it.
Like, boom, 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 this has to happen.
Okay, so, like, boom.
Exactly. So, Dany... I'm going to say it. I'm not a fan of how Dany has transitioned into the Mad Queen. I thought it was very lazy.
I'm not a fan of the transition, but I loved seeing it. If that makes any sense. Like, it's jarring, but it's...
Because it goes back to Game of Thrones porn. It's just nice to see dragon burn things.
But I like to see Mad Queen, too. It's just not believable because there wasn't enough time to see the transition.
And also, she's burning King's Landing to the fucking ground. She could have easily flown straight up to the Red Keep and just blew Cersei, the mountain in Qyburn, just blew that part of the Red Keep up. And I feel like that would have been infinitely more satisfying than what happens to Cersei.
Because at the same time, I did feel the emotion that they were going for is like, I was thinking like, she's evil. Like, she's killing all of these innocent people. I was like, this is not right. Even my girlfriend was like, now I kind of want Cersei to live. And I was like, even Cersei did not kill that many innocent people.
Well, congrats to her for that, but she still deserves to die. And
that is true, but it's jarring when the hero gone bad with the snap of a finger is doing more damage than all of the villains.
Agreed. But also, did anybody else think like the taking of King's Landing by Dany was so fucking easy?
Yeah.
That imagine when she had all 3 dragons or just the 2 dragons, she could have just taken it herself.
Well, because she didn't want to at first. She expressed restraint from wanting to burn the city to the ground.
Well, she still didn't have to burn the city to the ground.
Right.
She could just been like, we're gonna talk. Okay, you guys are gone.
Yeah. But,
Lannisters stand down or you're gonna burn.
Yeah. So, I mean, she could have, but she didn't. And that's how the show's ended up. So,
could have been a very easy transaction.
While all of this is going on, Jaime is trying to make his way back to Cersei, which, again, that's what I was talking about. In our last review, I fully predicted Jaime. I think everyone thought Jaime was going to go back and kill Cersei.
Which I would have enjoyed.
Yes, because that would have made sense. This whole show, his whole story arc has been about him breaking away from the villainous person he was and to become a better person. And all of that's just completely erased. Literally thrown out of the window, just like Bran.
Yeah. I cannot believe what they did with Jaime's character. With the small amount of foreshadowing that we got with Dany becoming the Mad Queen, that is still more than what we got with Jaime just instantly out of nowhere. Is like, I'm gonna go back to King's Landing with Cersei, even though she literally sent Bronn to kill Tyrion and Jaime. So why didn't Tyrion die in the last episode, by the way? And then she's just okay with Jaime again. So it doesn't make sense on her part. It doesn't make sense on his part. And then obviously what happens to them is the dumbest thing ever.
Yeah, but we'll get to that. So, conveniently, Jaime is on the same beach, and who fucking comes out of the water? Goddamn
Bam Margera.
Captain Jack Bam Margera. Euron comes out of the water. They start fighting. It's the stupidest scene I've ever seen in a television series.
Jaime, he lost his hand, but he was still trained by Sir Arthur Dayne, the Sword of the Morning, and is supposed to be one of the best fighters in Westeros.
And Bronn trained him to use his offhand.
Yeah.
And Euron had a dagger. A dagger versus a sword.
A longsword.
On a pretty open beach. What?
And there's so many instances where he could have just used his hand to, like, bash in his head or something.
Yeah. So, Euron somehow is beating his ass, stabs him twice, and then Jaime gets the upper hand and stabs Euron in the gut, which, what a disappointing death for Euron. He's done so much bad shit. He's such a stupid character overall. I wanted him to, like, get his skull crushed or, like, get his head cut off. Like, something brutal to happen to him. And he just gets stabbed in the gut and then goes, oh, haha, I killed Jaime Lannister. So stupid. He essentially kills Jaime, who is, before he got his hand cut off, probably the best swordsman in Westeros, because Sir Arthur Dayne dies. Mm. So it's like, I just don't get it. I don't get it.
Yeah, I would agree. I think the Jaime aspect of the episode is definitely my number one. Like, I'm still kind of in denial that that's how his story wraps up.
Also, I hated how, like, Euron's like, well, you fought well, and like he's just accepted his victory and this and that, but lets him crawl all the way to his sword. But then stabs him at the last minute. Like he had 10 full minutes to get up and just like stab him in the head or something.
Yeah, Jaime's sword is so far away, and Euron just lets him grab it.
Yeah, the thing is, it's
for
like
plot armor.
Euron's sitting there, and then clearly is looking directly at Jaime crawling over there, and he's like, I'll just have a sit. He's like, I'll just keep. Obviously, he's still tired. Yeah, he just went through a lot. Sure, but you couldn't get your ass up and just seal the deal real quick.
And I wanted my battle of the non-canon Sarah Connors. Why couldn't we have Cersei and Daenerys have at least some sort of confrontation together.
Yeah, there's no confrontation because they both just die in an avalanche.
Yeah, because, okay, so...
They're still alive.
We'll get to that. So Hound and Arya are also in King's Landing. They're also going to kill Cersei. And then the Hound out of nowhere is just like, hey, Arya.
It's time for your development to go out the window.
He's like, maybe don't do it. And she just goes, okay. And just turns around and leaves.
I think it's because of the destruction. They weren't expecting Dany to freaking destroy all of King's Landing.
But, like, how long has Arya wanted to kill Cersei? How long has she been training to kill Cersei? And when she finally has the chance to, because she has a risk of dying, which, don't you think you would have a risk of dying anyway? Because you'd have to do something about the mountain.
And she's clearly become a badass who doesn't really fear death anymore.
She snuck up on the Night King, for Christ's sake. And then she's just like, oh, well, the building's going to collapse, so I don't want to do it anymore. See you later.
I kept thinking before the bells started ringing a few times, I thought maybe she had taken someone's face. Like Qyburn, I thought, maybe once.
They deleted that power from her, though.
Yeah. I even thought after the bells ringing, I was like, afterwards it wouldn't really make sense for her to take someone's face and kill her then. But I was even thinking when Cersei first runs into Jaime, I was like, oh, maybe Arya got to Jaime first, and then stole his face, and then is gonna kill Cersei.
Nope.
And I was totally ready when Jaime and Cersei did reunite. I thought Jaime was gonna kill her right there on the spot. I was like, okay, here we go.
Because part of me was like, no way Arya just gave up her life's mission that quick.
But she did.
So I was just like, she is too strong of a character.
Maybe she accepted that her fate is something else, something greater, something.
Maybe she's gonna kill Dany. I hope not.
Yeah, there's this thing on Twitter, like, Daenerys has green eyes, but they say in the show, don't trust witches with blue eyes, like when she's captured by the Dothraki, so she has blue eyes.
When she should have purple eyes, if we're going off book logic.
Or maybe Melisandre, when she said you're going to shut blue eyes or something like that, meant Dany and not the Night King.
Eyes you'll shut forever. I mean, I guess maybe we'll find out in the next episode. Probably not.
But anyways, so we finally get one of the biggest memes of Game of Thrones. The ultimate meme, Clegane Bowl.
It was fucking confirmed for a while now.
And all we got was the Hound getting his ass beat on a crumbling stair set for about 4 minutes.
Now this is where we have a little bit of a disconnect.
I really liked it because it's been established that they've experimented on him or did whatever googly boogly stuff to him that he is like undead more or less.
They turned him into an ogre.
Yeah, he looks like Shrek. The mountain looks like Shrek confirmed. Yellow Shrek.
I thought it was funny when he was just like stabbing him over and over again, and he started laughing, and like the Hound was laughing.
Yeah, he's like, just fucking die.
He looked like full-size Shrek, but with Shrek's baby's face.
And a little bit of Darth Sion sprinkled in there.
A little sprinkle.
I enjoyed it.
I just wanted... I get that he's undead, so obviously he's much stronger. He literally gets stabbed 1 billion times, gets stabbed in the neck, stabbed in the head, doesn't die. But I just think that the Hound is stronger than that. I guess what I wanted out of it, and obviously, you can't always get what you want, but I wanted a clean victory of, like, the Hound, because the Mountain did that, terrible things to him all of his life. The Mountain has done terrible things to a lot of people. I wanted a clean... even if that meant the Hound, like, succumbed to his wounds and died afterwards, but I just wanted, like, a definitive, like, the Hound finally killed his older brother. That's what I wanted out of the battle, and that's what it seemed like they were setting up. And then for them to just, I'm just going to push him off a cliff and fall with him, and then we both die together, that was just like, that's it, man? That's it? All this and just to that?
I mean, technically, even though he got his ass beat the whole time, he did... end up getting the best of his brother.
But he just pushed him. Anyone can push someone off a cliff.
He speared him. By God.
Spear! I wanted a clean, like, victorious moment for the Hound, because he's also been such a tortured character for the entire series. We couldn't just give him a nice little bow tie, like...
Not everything has a happy ending, Nate.
Yeah.
Especially with Game of Thrones, I can't think you should expect there to be a nice little bow on everything.
Obviously, I'm not saying on everything, but for the Hound specifically, his character arc and what has happened to him his entire life has led up to a final confrontation with his brother where he should have had a nice, clean victory against him, but it didn't happen.
I think this just goes with the theme of everything being rushed as well.
Yes.
It kind of just had to...
And just because a character deserves a certain ending, obviously doesn't mean they get that, i.e. Cersei and Jaime.
I'm not saying you're wrong, but I'm just saying this is what I personally want. This is what I personally think should have happened.
Well, of course we all wanted that.
Based on what had happened in the show. Because certain characters do get a happy ending in Game of Thrones. Not everyone gets the shit end of the stick. So, moving on, like we said, Jaime, Cersei, they reunite. We think he's going to kill her. Doesn't happen, so all of his character development's completely erased. They're going down because Tyrion set up a little boat for them to escape on. They're running down through the... whatever the dungeon is called with all the dragon skulls.
Yeah.
Can't think...
Maegol's Keep or something?
Yeah.
Maegol's something?
Yeah, whatever it's called. But they run down there. Be careful of your foot. They run down there, and it's all blocked off by bricks. Which is funny because the first camera that it's focused on, there's totally a little bit of daylight. And you, like, why wouldn't you at least even try to escape?
I mean, it's stupid.
Because Cersei is literally saying, I don't want to die, I don't want to die. Jaime...
I want our baby to live.
Like, Jaime clearly was going to die one way or another because he got stabbed twice. So he's bleeding out. If it's medieval logic. And then the Red Keep just collapses and they get crushed by bricks. 8 seasons of setting up Cersei and as the villain, and she gets crushed by fucking bricks.
8 seasons of her being set up as the villain, and 8 seasons of Jaime's arc of... Like, I don't mean to be that, like, villain turns into a good guy, but that is what the show was setting up. He had a change of heart. He literally abandoned Cersei to go fight in the north and risk his life.
He saw how evil she was, and then he's just like, nope, I still love her.
And between last episode, he snaps out of it after his little thing with Brienne. It's just, I'm hateful too. And then, like, obviously we think it's the bait and switch. Like, the audience can't know he plans on murdering Cersei.
Yeah.
And then he's actually just trying to go back to her. And it was just the most illogical thing. Like, that is the biggest crime of this episode for me, is Jaime was serious about going back to Cersei, and then they just die by rubble.
And what happens to Cersei is 100% worse than what happens to the Night King. Like, if people out there feel cheated by what happens to the Night King, I feel like I got fucking robbed at gunpoint with what happened to Cersei. Like, that's it? She just gets crushed by fucking bricks. That's what this show has turned into. Oh, they just died. Okay. Of course, we didn't really talk about Arya running the gauntlet, because she's running from all the destruction. She's getting burnt. She's getting blown up.
Getting asbestos poisoning.
I enjoyed that sequence.
It's a nice sequence, but she's literally just like, everyone around her is dying, but she's just like, ping, 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 plot armor. Ping, 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 ping. I'm not going to die from any of this, or barely even get wounded at all.
She seemed pretty banged up.
She had a little bit of blood on her. A little bit of blood on her and a lot of dust. But
the dust.
And then she magically finds a white horse, which, Rob Zombie Halloween 2, anyone? She magically finds a horse that somehow survived the dragon fire, the rubble falling from everywhere in King's Landing. Just a random giant horse. And gets on it.
She blew up 100% of King's Landing.
But most of it was crumbling because of the wildfire as well that was detonating underneath the city.
I mean, true.
So, the fact that a horse out of everything would survive just is like, I don't buy that for a second. And then, of course, she just gets on it and rides away off into the sunset.
Maybe Bran was controlling the horse.
He warged into the horse.
Yeah. I mean, obviously the horse didn't have the white eyes, but
Right.
like maybe he white-eyed that horse
I mean,
from somewhere else to come.
that would be completely stupid if that
It
happened.
would
but
be. Hey,
but
devil's advocate.
I would not
Yeah.
put it past D&D at this point to be like, well, you know, Drogon kind of forgot about the horse. And that's pretty much the episode. That's pretty much the whole thing. Like I said, I pretty much thought this episode sucked. Didn't really like much about it other than boom boom explosions and sword fighting, so I'm entertained, which doesn't really count. I understand if you're a casual viewer of Game of Thrones and you're still entertained and you still like it, that's fine. That's cool, man. You don't need to get all hot and bothered on social media because people don't like it. It's just, you know, people are going to have opinions one way or another.
I still think what we're getting for Game of Thrones, it's the double-edged sword. It's this weird phenomenon with me, and you guys probably agree to a certain extent, that what you're seeing, maybe not this particular episode is good for you, but the season so far, you're acknowledging that you're enjoying what you're watching, and you might even think it's good, but then in the back of your mind, you think back to like seasons 1, 2, 3, and 4, and like those types of things, and this could be so much better, but I'm still enjoying it.
And
that's pretty much where I am at right now. I do enjoy every Sunday watching Game of Thrones. It's a tradition.
And most of it is still better than 99% of garbage
that's
mainstream
the thing. Like,
TV.
it's better than like the mainstream shows, you know, Falling Skies or whatever.
The Walking Dead.
Yeah, you
Walking
made a
Dead.
great comparison to
Or
that earlier.
any other stupid, like, nothing still compares, besides Breaking Bad, but completely different genre, but nothing still compares to Game of Thrones. It's just, for Game of Thrones, this is not as good as it can be.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that is because, for whatever stupid reason, 6 episodes a season, and you have 2 of the biggest conflicts of the show to handle. Should have done 10 episodes for 7 and 8. Should have maybe gave it to different writers if they felt overwhelmed or if they couldn't really come up with something good. Or, and my third thing is that it's a bummer that the 2 books are not out, because it's no doubt ever since they ran out of source material, the show has just gone downhill, but at the same time I enjoy it and I think it's good. But the Jaime and Cersei thing, I will say I absolutely hated that part of this episode.
Absolute garbage.
The taking of King's Landing I did enjoy.
And at least, thankfully, unlike The Walking Dead, we've only got one more episode left of this show.
Yeah, at least it's not just going to keep going and going and going off the source material when they ran out of source material.
Yeah.
So I enjoyed the episode. I hated the Jaime part, and Daenerys turning insane was pulling on my emotions in the sense that, oh my god, like, she's evil, like, she's killing all these innocent people, like, she's gone mad. And it's cool to see the Mad Queen. I just wish we would have had more time to flesh out the transition and make it more believable, because it did catch me off guard. Mm-hmm. It's that and the Jaime thing that make this like, those are the 2 things I did not like about this episode. Everything else I thought was just good. Like, it's just not the god tier television series that it used to be, like seasons 1, 2, 3, 4, a little bit of 5, a hint of 6, and then 7 and 8 are just, I have to accept it for what they are. Which,
to really wrap this episode up, the cleanest and best way I can, narrative wise, action wise,
yeah.
very good.
It's like we said, like, it was good to look at.
Yeah.
Like, it was visually pleasing, well directed. It's just the direction that they're taking the story just feels rushed, because they just randomly choose to have 6 episodes.
Yep. So what did you guys think of Game of Thrones episode 8, So what did you guys think of Game of Thrones episode 5 from season 8? Let us know in the comments down below. Did you like it? Did you hate it? We'd love to hear from you either way because we love talking about Game of Thrones. We're super passionate about the show. I myself am in the middle of reading the very first book. I haven't read the books yet, but I am just so curious at this point and so upset with Game of Thrones that I just want to enjoy something a little bit different, like, because the books and the show obviously are not 100% accurate to each other, but something that I know that is beloved by almost universally.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to read the books now, obviously, because I want to see how it was supposed to go at this point. So, to me, it's still my favorite TV series of all time. But I know I'm not going to be ultimately, like, super, super satisfied.
Yeah.
But at the very least, like you said, it's not just going to keep on going and going and going and going.
At least it's ending.
Yeah.
That's all we can say at this point.
At least it's ending before it's, like, absolute, like, Walking Dead level cringe.
Yeah.
So
if you enjoyed our review, don't forget to leave a like on this video. Subscribe if you are new. Of course, we're only going to have one more episode of Game of Thrones discussions, but who knows? Maybe we'll go back and talk about the good old days, the earlier parts of the show.
The Robert Baratheon. Robert Baratheon was right all along.
Yes.
Should have killed Dany.
And this is all Ned's fault. Every single bit of it. Of course, I'm Nate. I've been joined with Justin.
See you guys later.
And Steven.
Take care.
And we will see you guys next time on Out of the Basement.